I think you might have already noticed that our society is pretty bad when it comes to deal with our own emotions and have healthy relationships. Only now are more and more people actually starting to take interest in learning about it and are focusing more and more on healing the pain and traumas. And once you start to understand more about your own patterns, pain, emotions, your internal world, you will soon realize how much of your behavior is specifically shaped to control or regulate the way that you feel. So, this means that your ego, creates strategies to not feel certain emotions. Like, for example, drinking alcohol, drugs, playing a lot of video games, going constantly on walks, writing a lot of affirmations, binge eating, watching TV, and so on. Since we were raised in an emotional immature society, the adults in your life felt more and more the need to maintain control over how they feel, and with that had the need to maintain control over how you felt as a kid. And that created more resistance to all emotions, whether it's good or bad. I mean, just look at those emotions that you don't like that much to feel, like maybe anger, fear, frustration, sadness. Why are they not okay to express or feel? What do you think will happen if you express those feelings to others? Who told you that they were bad? Most people believe that certain emotions are good and correct and others are bad based on the level of discomfort that they feel with those emotions. But did you know that our judgment about the goodness or badness of any emotion has entirely to do with how we are socialized? This means that some people were actually taught that an emotion, for example, like excitement, is actually bad because it will lead to disappointment. This is when, for example, as soon as you feel really happy, you say things like, uh-oh, this is not good. Something bad is about to happen. That's why I feel so happy now. Or emotions like suffer are really good because your culture has taught you that if you feel that in a relationship is an indicator of true love. But that is all bullshit. The way that you have been socialized to see specific emotions determines how you perceive them and thus experience them. Pain and suffer are not the same. In life, there are certain events that give you a sense of separation, disconnection. That is pain, and your emotions are the translators of that feeling. But if you learn to ignore them or to run away from them, this is when you then suffer because you are not looking at the real problem and creating a resolution. So by ignoring it, you will drag that with you for years and years until you are ready to see the root cause and create healing. Our basic survival instinct is actually to run away from pain and move towards pleasure. That's instinct. So it's actually perfectly normal to only want to feel good. But is this the reality that we live in this universe? We cannot escape from the contrast. We actually need the contrast, the negative. But here, what most people are not seeing is that you cannot achieve that feeling good and healing by ignoring or running away from your pain. This is what happens inside of you, in your brain, every time that you run away from it. So when you were a kid, a child, you felt different kind of emotions. And depending on how your parents and others around you dealt with them, taught you which emotions are good and okay to express and which one are bad and therefore wrong. So inside of you, you develop like a policeman, like that voice that is the representation of those people. And he controls what your parents taught you is good and what is bad. But now, your parents don't have to constantly tell you this is okay or not. That voice will do it. Now, every time that something happens that makes you feel certain emotions like anger, frustration, and so on, so the trigger, that policeman or voice will see that as a threat to your own well-being and will sound the alarm. That alarm is called shame. This is when your body responds to that threat by going into the fight or flight mode. So you try either to escape, freeze, or fight those emotions. But this is just an attempt to control things or the event or to control yourself, because your body believes that if you show and express those emotions, you will not receive love, attention, care, and so on from the people around you. But unfortunately, this only adds more emotions on top of those emotions, which in the moment actually may give us like a sense of, hey, it's working and I'm feeling better, but it actually only gets worse and worse with time. For example, let's say that when you were younger, you felt anxiety for the first time and you started to express those feelings, but your parents didn't care or they were busy at that time. And they said things to you like, oh my God, you are so exaggerating right now, just stop it. You are just being too sensitive. That's nothing, just shut up. Or maybe they even said, hey, do you want me to give you a reason to cry, to feel that? Do you? This is no reason for you to feel like this or to have this breakdown. It makes no sense. Oh my God, you're such a baby. Look how old you are. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't react like this. So here you learn that those emotions are bad and will not give you the approval that you need so much from them. And every time that you feel that again, that comes up again, you will start to believe that it is you now the problem. That something must be really, really wrong with you because you cannot just shut that down successfully. And once you get to this point, things only get worse. Because now, every time that comes up, those feelings, you will try to run away because they were not okay. And you will then start to fear yourself every time that comes up, because you know it's not okay. So you feel like something is really wrong with you and you actually end up feeling anxious about feeling anxious. So the feeling comes up and you are like, no, I cannot even look at it. I cannot express, no. And you are in this state. This is what a panic attack is. This is the point where you then start to feel bad about feeling sad. Or you get angry about feeling depressed and anxious all the time. Or you feel guilty because you feel happy, especially if the other person near you is not happy. Or you feel sad about feeling bad all the time and depressed. Or you get angry about yourself for feeling angry, like, oh my God, I shouldn't be angry about this person and this and that. And you get angry at yourself for being angry. This is the so-called secondary emotion, is when that policeman or voice that represents your caregivers and the people you grew up with tries to push those feelings away. And this is what makes you, your ego, to come up with strategies that will help you get away from that. Like, for example, reading too many books all the time, exercising too much, obsessively writing affirmations, distracting yourself as much as you can, and so on. These all are just attempts to make the emotion go away because you have judged them as bad. They are labeled as bad and wrong. This is why using positive affirmations when you feel bad will not work. They don't heal anything. They might work in a short time, but then they will always come back and get bigger and bigger. Whatever emotion you resist, it will only persist. It only gets bigger. It is the resistance of those emotions that causes you to go to a downward spiral. This is why when I work with people, when I help them, I never do things like, oh, you should use only these affirmations and stop doing this toxic trait and stop doing that, and you have to do a diet and you have to start to eat like this and all that things. I don't need to do that because I work with the root cause of those problems, of those toxic behaviors. And I love to see the transformations that happen once you start to learn to feel and deal with your emotions and create a resolution for traumas and heal your wounds. That's my only focus. That was how I was actually able to change the way that I do things, that I eat, and all that without having to force myself to do this, force myself to be disciplined. And do you want to know when I use positive affirmations? Only when I'm already feeling good. When I wake up feeling good and positive, then I use even more positive affirmations and positive vibes. Never when I'm feeling bad or sad. When I feel sad, I dive deep into that emotion. I don't run away. When I feel sad, I just dive deep into that emotion to understand the message, to be with myself in that pain. This is what makes me then feel amazing and allows me to break all those toxic patterns. This is what I teach in my workshops and in the one-on-one sessions. If you find yourself in a situation where nothing seems to work for you, nothing seems to make you feel better or get out of that hole, no matter how hard you try, how many things you do, then maybe it's because you are approaching life from a perspective of, I have to feel better because whatever I'm feeling, it's not okay, it's not correct. I have to change this because I'm doing something really wrong. I'm the mistake. So you are approaching here the way that you feel from the angle of this is bad and it has to change. And here is where you start to think things like, what have I done to deserve this? I mean, what is wrong with me? I just don't understand this. Why am I like this? I mean, I should feel better by now with all this that I have done. I mean, I don't understand. So this is just your resistance to your own emotions and not accepting that, hey, maybe it makes sense why you feel like this all the time or why you are so sad the whole week. I mean, if you grew up never learning how to have a healthy relationship with yourself to deal with your emotions, how can you expect to know better? How can you expect to heal so fast? And this might also be the reason why some people are even afraid of going for healing, of doing things to heal or doing shadow work. Because your whole life felt that you were the problem and it was always you. And now going into healing or doing things to heal, you might feel like, I'm doing this just because it's something wrong with me. And you are tired of feeling that something is wrong with you. And because of that, a part of you does not even want to do healing because that part of you just wants to feel like nothing is wrong with me. The reason why you should want to heal is not just because you want to get rid of the pain. It should be because you want to learn how to have an authentic and deep connection with yourself, and you just want to understand these voices and internal world inside of you. You want to give them what you never had from others. I'm going to help you gain more awareness on how you see and deal with your own emotions. Now answer step by step the following questions. So you can start by thinking back to your childhood. You can close your eyes if that is better for you or not. And try to remember some times when you were feeling really happy. How did the people around you react to it when you were feeling like that? Now, what about when you were feeling like really excited? How were the people reacting? Were they saying things maybe like, that's too much, you have to calm down, or you are crazy? Or were they celebrating with you? Now, what about when you were feeling sad? How did they react? Were there always people with you? Or were you actually more alone? Now, what about when you were feeling mad or even afraid? How did they react? Were maybe some people making fun of that, like making fun of you, saying, oh, a little baby is afraid? Or were they supporting you? Which emotions did they consider good and acceptable? And which emotions were considered bad and unacceptable? Which emotions were you allowed to express, and which ones were you expected to just suppress it and not show them, not let it out? Now try to remember times when the people around you felt strong emotions, not you, the others around you. Maybe someone exploded with anger or screamed or cried. How were they treated by others? How did they themselves dealt with having those emotions? How were they reacting? What about just your own family? How were emotions dealt within your family? What were you directly told, good or bad, this is okay or not, or indirectly taught was the best way to handle your emotions? For example, I was forced, so I can say indirectly taught, to be alone when I was sad and wanted to cry. All these questions will help you make aware on where you stand in relationship to your own emotions and how healthy your relationship with yourself really is. You can also look around at your life today. What strategies are you still using that are a perfect reflection of the way that you were subconsciously programmed to deal with emotions as a child? I mean, do you still isolate yourself in the room every time that you need to cry? Or do you still do everything you can to not start crying or feel a strong emotion? If you want to have a more fulfilled, happy, and harmonious life, you have to change the relationship that you have with your emotions. I mean, just think about it. If the emotions are the translators, the messengers of your internal and external world together, how will you be able to follow or even find your passion, know who you are, what you are, and what you enjoy so much doing, if you are rejecting and ignoring the messenger? It is time to give yourself what your parents and others weren't able to give you or teach you. It's time to see, listen, and understand the world that is inside of you, because only then will you be able to show others the true version of your soul. I hope this helped you in some way, and as usual, I wish you a very nice week.